you see when you look at the film, getting ready for these two games with Oklahoma City?
Yeah, you see a team that's been number one in the West the whole season. You know, they dominate on both sides of the ball. What really stands out is their defense. You know, the number one defense in the NBA, and how aggressive they are, how physical, and you know they turn you over like no other team, and that leads to 20+ points a night in transition. So, if you have any chance of competing against the number one team in the West, you got to take care of the ball. You can't beat yourself on the road in front of a great home crowd. Obviously, it all starts with Shai, just a great player. His ability to impact the game both offensively and defensively, is just incredible. Leads the league in steals, leads the league in isolations, gets to the foul line, second in free throw attempts behind Giannis. But he's got a hell of a supporting cast. It's not just Shai. He's got a lot of guys that can knock down shots. They shoot. Last 5 games, they're first in three-point shooting. They're making over 17 threes per game. And I think aside from can we take care of the ball tonight, Scott, I think that's the second part is you have to give Shai so much attention because he can beat you one-on-one. He's great at getting to the foul line and drawing fouls, shot fakes, step-throughs. But then all the guys around him, so as you give a crowd to him, can you get out to their shooters? So definitely a multiple effort game, like every game is, but this one's obviously at a whole nother level because of just the amount of talent that they have.
How much does the message with guarding him have to be just to avoid getting discouraged when you're inevitably going to get beat, you're inevitably going to send him to the line at some point, probably early in the game? Like how much does that kind of just have to be part of the message?
Well, I think the bigger message is you have to be disciplined. I mean, like if you're going to have any chance of beating a really good team, a division rival, we both finished with the same record last year, but they had the head-to-head advantage, and this year they're 1, we're 2. So we have a lot of respect for what the Thunder have done, but if you're going to have any chance of beating this team, yes, you can't get discouraged. You have to stay with it and stay the course, but you also have to be really disciplined. You have no chance of beating this team if you beat yourself, and that's with being disciplined in terms of guarding Shai, not leaving your feet on a shot fake, not putting your hands in that cookie jar so he can draw and get 2 free throws, not turning the ball over or playing in a tight space, which is what they want, which fuels their break. So our discipline is going to have to be off the charts.
You mentioned earlier this season, I think it was after the Washington loss, that Nikola kind of spoke up a little, said something to the team. Is he still evolving this many years in terms of the vocal leadership element, or is it kind of just he is who he is and he's going to kind of speak up in the little moments where he kind of sees his fit?
Yeah, I think Nicole leads in his own way, and that's definitely by example first and foremost, and then when he sees an opportunity or feels an opportunity to speak up, he will, but it's, I think his greatest strength as a leader is showing up each and every day in the consistency and the work ethic that he displays each and every day.
You talk about taking care of the ball, but what goes into the conversations around being smart? Do you have to change anything, any approaches offensively?
Well, no, I think it gets back to, so obviously we talk about Shai a lot in terms of him leading the league. Well, one of the league leaders in steals. I think he and Nikola are both at around 1.8 steals per game. But they have a lot of other guys. They're first in steals, first in deflections, first in charges taken, first in loose balls recovered. They across the board are a really impressive defensive team. So when you're playing against a team that is so handsy and so aggressive, one, your spacing has to be great. And when you're handling the ball, you have to realize that you cannot play in a crowd. Once you see 2 on the ball, you have to get rid of it early. Early pass, easy pass, trust the pass all night long. And if you do that, you'll have a chance to get a shot. That's all we want is a shot up every time. Because if you're not getting a shot up, obviously the turnovers, but the other thing we haven't talked about is, Chet is an elite shot blocker. And turnovers and block shots are just as bad as turnovers at times because that fuels their break. They get out and run off of those. So he's lurking. The last time we beat them, he only had 1 block. He's had games where he's had 7, 6, 5 blocks against us. So you have to stay aggressive. You don't want to shy away from that, but we also have to make sure that we're getting a shot up to at least give our defense a chance to get back and get set.
Christian Brown's shot profile, amongst other things, has changed this year. He's getting the rim more, not taking quite as many
Well, I think more than just his improvement, and, I think he's in the discussion, or should be in the discussion for most improved players. I think Aaron Wiggins should be in that same conversation. You look at what he's done this year, it's incredible. But I think CB, his improvements have also helped us improve. And, for the large majority of the season, we've been the #1 running team in the league, and Christian has a lot to do with that. Haven't seen it lately, but, for a large part of the season, he's been top 3 in fast break points per game by individual players. So he understands that, well, how can I impact the game? Coach isn't going to call many plays for me, so I have to kind of attack in transition, get to the rim. In the half court, I've got to move without the ball, I've got to screen, I've got to roll. The game has changed so much, like many years ago, it was a big man always screening and rolling. Well, the game's evolved, it's positionless basketball, and Christian Nikola pick and roll has become really effective with Nikola handling and CB on the rim. And he shot 38 from 3 last year, he's shooting 37 from 3 this year. And, the biggest key for him is you miss 2 in a row, you miss 3 in a row, keep shooting the ball. But you just love his aggressive attack mindset, and he's been one of the more efficient players throughout the season. And he deserves all the credit because he's the one in the gym working his butt off each and every day.
So OKC has a lot of guys who fit that description too, right? That they have a lot of smalls who are really good screen setters and rollers. Like how do you coach that into a guy who previously that was just not really a thing that anybody ever had him doing? How do you coach that into a guy at the highest level?
Well, I think it's when you come into a team, and I can't speak for Mark and the Thunder, but when you come into a team where you have a guy like Nikola Jokic, and Nikola is, as I said after the last game, he's one of one for many reasons, not because of the 30-20-20 game alone, but different ways that we use Nikola as a center. And I want maybe 5-6 years ago, the #1 pick and roll 10 in the NBA was Nikola and Jamal, and it was Nikola handling Jamal setting. So when you have a unique player that has an unbelievable skill set, and we're going to take advantage of that entire skill set. We don't put people in a corner and say, this is all you do. And that'd be poor coaching on my part. So when you bring guys in, you got to understand who you're playing with and how you can allow him to be the best player he can be, but also to make your job that much easier. And if that's screening and rolling, if that's cutting and moving, then so be it. But, I think guys have to adjust and adapt to the environment that they're thrown into. And with us, it's pretty easy. You get a chance to play with the best player in the world.
One more question. How much of an issue does Oklahoma City's depth create? They played Portland the other day, mostly backups, beat them by 18, and obviously a lot of different lineups they can throw at you when they have all those different guys they bring off the bench. How much of an issue does that create?
Yeah, they're #1 in the West for a reason, right? Them and Cleveland have kind of, from early on, separated themselves from the rest of the pack. And in order to do that, you have to be elite offensively. They're 4th in the NBA. You have to be elite defensively. They're 1st in the NBA. And you have to have tremendous depth, to your point. And, watching that Portland game, they're resting a bunch of their guys. And they go out there and big Jalen Williams and Isaiah Joe and Wiggins and Caruso and they're just don't miss a beat. You know what I mean? And it's pretty impressive when you watch them. As I mentioned earlier, we have a really healthy respect for who they are. But at the same time, we know that we have to be ready to fight from the tip-off today. This is an early game for both teams, so we're gonna have to find a way to get some energy going in what I'm sure will be a hell of an atmosphere.